A very good evening to you if you're watching or listening from Kenya, and a very good day to you if you're watching or listening from abroad. This is the Black Hot Fire News Africa updates with me, Dimori. I'll be taking you through what has been happening throughout Africa and throughout Kenya and throughout Africa today and this week, to keep you on the know just on what has been happening throughout Africa and throughout Kenya. And a lot has been happening this week with DRC Congo, with Senegal, with Ghana, with Nigeria. And we'll start our news update with Baringo, where 5 people have been killed as bandits attack Baringo, Samburu, and Marakwet counties. 5 people have been killed in separate bandit attacks in Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Samburu counties. Bandits ambushed and killed a 59-year-old man in Baringo North and 2 others in Marakwet East before driving away a herd of cattle. The man was shot as he tended to his livestock near Yatta Primary School, while the 2 were ambushed and fatally shot in the Lita area in East Marakwet. The killings sparked protest in Kabarnet and Marigat towns, where locals lashed out at the government for what they termed a failure to stem the tide of banditry in the area. It is very unfortunate that after all these years, we are still having bandit attacks in Kenya. And on the other side of the Rift Valley, at the Samburu County Referral Hospital, relatives were gathered outside the facility trying to make sense of the killing of their kin by bandits who was attacked in a village in Lol Molog on Wednesday night. The bandits shot and killed a man and his son before making away with 150 cattle that were later recovered by a contingent of security forces that went after the bandits. Samburu Police Boss Thomas Ototo said police have heightened alert levels in the area and asked residents to be vigilant. The affected areas have questioned the government's commitment to tackling banditry in the region, questioning how the problem still persists more than a year after the government declared the region as disturbed and dangerous and launched a security operation to restore peace. So that is what has been happening in Kenya, especially in Samburu, with bandit attacks still happening, as 5 people were killed yesterday in bandit attacks in Baringo, Marakwet, and
was shot dead in separate bandit attacks in Baringo North and Marakwet East. The bandit attacks are the latest in an area that has sections and a multi-agency security team trying to eradicate banditry in the north. Ayubaid reports that the attacks result in deaths have put locals on edge.
Attacked him when he was tending to his livestock near Tatia Primary School. They shot him at close range and killed him on the spot. In the Liter area in East Marakwet, 2 people were killed while an unknown number of livestock were driven towards the Tiati area. The frequent killing have led to protests in Kabarnet and Marigat, where locals want the government to take actions to stem the tide of death at the hands of bandits.
Tunataka kuona kwamba ili suluhu ipatikane ni serikali wote kuungana na viongozi, ikiwa ni pande ya security wafanye kazi yao vilivyo, ikiwa ni machiefs, ikiwa ni sisi kama MCS, sisi wote tuungane pamoja ili kupata suluhu.
The death of the 59-year-old man has caused fear and anxiety in Tatia area, as it has happened as residents were planning the burial of a teacher who is a village away.
Fortunately, the leaders, the local leaders, have never been talking to each other. You know, they were busy talking to, not to each other, but at each other through the media, addressing problems of their own local areas through the media.
Taka tuingie pale katika sehemu zetu pale mpaka ya Baringo North na Tiati na tuone hawa wauaji ni kina nani. So hiyo ndio kitu tumesema leo. Kwa kesho tutakuwa pale na tutakuwa na hao wachungaji wenye wako pale mpaka ya Baringo North na Tiaty. Twende tuongee na wao na watuambie ni nini shida, ni gani shida, imetoka wapi, ni nani huyu muuaji, ni nini hii mnasosania.
The increase in banditry in the area has led to 10 deaths so far in Baringo North since the beginning of the year. Among those is the death of a blind primary school head teacher in Kagir. The bandits seem to have outsmarted the multi-agency team deployed in the region as they kill and injure with ease and at will, with no one able to stop them. Ayub Aden, Citizen TV.
Yeah, so that is what has been happening in Baringo with banditry. And for those of you who do not understand what I'm saying when I say 10 people have been killed out of banditry, banditry is cattle rustling. You know, there are communities who steal cattle from each other, and they consider that a tradition. And so 10 people have died in those counties from cattle rustling this year alone. And the latest were the 3 people who died yesterday, who were killed yesterday by bandits in Elgeyo Marakwet. So it is a very sad situation considering the government sent a force there to deal with banditry, but it looks like the banditry is still ongoing, and people are still getting killed, including primary school teachers. And the saddest part is that most of the bandits are young kids who should be in school, but instead of being in school, they are out there stealing cattle and killing each other. So those are some archaic, outdated traditions that we need to do with as Africans. One of them being cattle rustling. Cattle rustling in 2024 is not news that I should be reporting, but it is happening, and people are getting killed every day, allegedly because of some outdated traditions that should not really be happening. Let us now head to Eldoret, where Kevin Kiptum was buried today as thousands of mourners mourned Kenya's marathon star who was destined for greatness. The funeral ceremony was held at the showground in the village of Chepkorio, where Kiptum trained in Western Kenya. President William Ruto and World Athletics head Sebastian Coe were among the mourners at the funeral in the Rift Valley, where Kiptum was born, trained, and died. The father of 2 veered off the road and hit a tree on Feb 11th, just months after shattering the marathon record in Chicago in October, stunning the world of athletics. He ran the distance in 2 hours and 35 seconds, slicing 34 seconds off the previous fastest time set by his Kenyan rival, the marathon legend Eliud Kipchoge. While Kiptum only competed in 3 marathons, he won all of the races, posting 3 of the 7 fastest times for the event. His sudden death has left Kenya and the wider athletic community shocked. Hundreds turned out on Thursday in his home village of Chepkorio in Western Kenya to pay an emotional tribute to the rising star who had been in overwhelming who had been the overwhelming favorite for the Paris 2024 Olympics. Fans and athletes lined on the roads, some in silence, others singing as Kiptum's coffin was transported in a hearse to Iten, the legendary high altitude training region in the Rift Valley. So that was Kiptum's burial, happened today. One of the fastest rising stars in athletics from Kenya. He unfortunately he died early at 24 years of age, and out of a car accident that claimed his life, and just a few months before he was to compete in the Paris marathon.
Friends and fellow athletes have paid their last respects to Kenyan marathon world record holder Kelvin Kiptum, who died in a car crash on Sunday. Mourners queued to pass by Kiptum's casket Friday and signed a memorial book during a funeral service held at Chepkorio Showground. Kiptum was one of the most exciting prospects to emerge in road running.
I met Kiptum in Monaco. He was just like me. We were just smiling and having fun when we go through interviews. It was really fun. So for me to think and think deeply that Kiptum is no more.
The president of the International Association of Athletics Federation, Sebastian Coe, was at the service to comfort Kiptum's family. Kenya's President William Ruto attended to pay his last respects.
And so when I'm here, I just feel like I have really lost because
tumekubaliana.
So the president who was at the event promised the widow of the late Kiptum another house. He already built her a house, and so he promised her another house and a job and 5 million Kenya shillings. So that was the promise that the president who was there gave. And Jiba Jaba is with me, is asking me an accident or welcome Jiba Jaba to the show. He's asking me accident or something nefarious. It is hard to tell because he was having some problems with some Chinese he had signed a contract with some Chinese, and then he bailed out on them a few months to the race. So he said that he's not gonna work with them and he's gonna work with a different brand. And the moment he said that, then the Chinese sent three villagers, three elderly men from the same community to talk to him, but he still declined. And he got the accident a few days later. I'm not trying to insinuate anything. I'm just giving the account of what happened. I'm just giving the account as it happened. So he had signed a contract worth 40 million Kenya shillings. And then when a few months to the race, he bailed out on the Chinese company and said he was actually going to work with a different brand. And I did this about a week ago. Let me see if I can find the video of the same and share it if I can find it. So he bailed out on them just before the race, and I don't know if that might be the cause, but anyways, so he was buried today, and the video on your screen is that of the president promising the wife and other athletes a lot of goodies like he always does. So it is in Swahili, but I'll translate a little bit of it.
Sisi wote kwamba ili tuwashughulikie hawa wanariadha wakiwemo wachezaji wale wengine wote, wanaspoti wote katika taifa letu la Kenya. Pia tumekubaliana ya kwamba tutazidi na kutengeneza mbinu mpya ya kuhakikisha kwamba hiyo kazi itatimia, ya kuhakikisha kwamba wanariadha wetu wakipata pesa zao, wanapata mafunzo, wanapata taratibu, na vile vile even our reward system, we are going to adjust our reward system so that it is not about just money for today, that it also becomes money for the future. And I'm asking Ababu and your team to sit down and recalibrate our reward system.
So that is just the president giving a lot of promises, but he promised to build the widow a house and give her 5 million Kenya shillings, which I don't know if it will be delivered. But that is what happened with Kiptum today. And Jiba Jaba is asking me who held insurance on this gentleman. And before I answered that, he went ahead and told me, there you go, question answered on the Chinese. Let us head to a different location, a different area in Kenya where 3 suspects were arrested as police seized elephant tusks worth Kenya shillings 2.7 million in Narok. 3 individuals have been arrested in Narok for being in possession of 4 elephant tusks weighing a total of 27 kilograms with an estimated street value of Kenya shillings 2.7 million. The trio, 44-year-old Joseph Mutuku, Julius Mwanduka Kiema, 72, and Alfred Nzioka Mutie, 44, were arrested at Kisisiri area in Narok North following a joint operation led by the DCI's Serious Crime Unit and the area police. The 3 suspects are currently in custody pending arraignment for relevant offences under the Wildlife Conservation and Management Act 2013. That is the act that is against poaching. So it is 2024 and elephants in Kenya are still endangered, with many people still trying to poach them for their tusks. So today, 3 gentlemen have been arrested with 27 kilograms of tusks, of elephant tusks in Narok. So the 3 suspects are in custody and they'll be arraigned in court and charged under the Wildlife Conservation and Management Act 2013. Let us now head to other news where the court has allowed the government to proceed with the new generation identification card registration. The government can now go ahead with its plan of registering people and issuing new generation national ID cards, also known as Maisha card. This is after the High Court Judge John Chigiti lifted earlier orders that had suspended the plans. The judge has further directed that the matter be transferred to the Constitutional Human Rights Division for hearing and determination. The government, through Morara Apiemi N. Nyagito advocates acting for the State Department of Immigration and Citizen Services, had filed an application seeking to have the orders lifted on grounds that there was material non-disclosure on the part of the applicant, who was Katiba Institute. He told the court that there is another related pending case on the same subject and similar facts which the court had issued directions. In an affidavit, Immigration Principal Secretary Julius Bitok said that the earlier orders stopping the Maisha number exercise cannot be allowed to stand. In the case, Katiba Institute, which had filed the case, claimed that the state had no legal basis for implementing the Maisha number and that the government had proceeded without requiring a state protection impact assessment in violation of the Data Protection Act. So the court ruled that the government can go ahead and issue the new generation identification cards, which they call the Maisha card. So the Maisha number. So in case you don't know what the Maisha number is, here is a little video explaining what the new identification card that the government is talking about handing to each and every Kenyan, the new identification card, what really is it?
And the government will, in 2 weeks' time, launch the new 3rd generation IDs known as Maisha card in a project that will cost the government 1 billion shillings. The digital cards will phase out the current national identification cards and will be used as the official identifier throughout all education stages, tax payments through the Kenya Revenue Authority, that is KRA, and the death certificate number upon demise. And Green Kilemi reports.
Kenyans could soon begin using a digital ID after a critical government committee endorsed the proposed design and security features of a new card. The technical committee of principal secretaries approved Maisha card, which is set to be launched on the 29th of September.
When somebody is given that number at birth, that is the same number which will be their school identification number, it will be their university identification number, it will be their ID number when they turn 18, it will be their PIN number for KRA, it will be their number all through their lifetime. Until when they die, it becomes their death certificate number.
Speaking Tuesday, Immigration Principal Secretary Julius Bitok explained that unlike Huduma number that faced many legal and implementation challenges, Maisha card will not require fresh registration or harvesting of personal biometrics.
So I want to say these are very different products altogether. And just for clarity, we are going to spend about 1 billion for this project, as opposed to what was spent in the other project.
The new digital cards will be issued to all citizens at birth and will replace the current second generation ID. This is in a bid to support the consumption of online services offered by the government, as well as minimize identity fraud, forgeries, and other misrepresentations.
Currently, we are issuing about 3 million new cards annually. And we're saying that is the beginning point for us. And we are going to put a timeline so that we give Kenyans time. But for the time being, we'll have a transition period, which will be like 2 to 3 years to be able to transit into the new model.
Among key features of Maisha Card is a machine-readable zone in line with International Civil Aviation Organization that will make it possible to interpret personal encrypted details.
When we talk about effective and efficient service delivery, digital identity is very, very critical, and therefore we all need to support, to onboard, to be able to appreciate this particular process so that we can take this country to the next level.
As a build-up to the official launch on 29th of September, a public education and registration exercise will be held in Nakuru this Saturday, with public barazas and other stakeholders forums also expected to be conducted across the country. Andrin Kile.
So that is to do with the new identification card that all Kenyans are going to be issued with, a digital identification card that is machine readable, as they said, that has all your data encrypted to it. Initially, the issuance of the cards had been stopped by the court, but today the court lifted the ban, and now the cards will start getting issued soon. So the card has a barcode, it is machine readable, and has all your data encrypted on it, including your so it will replace all the other cards. Instead of having so many cards, the NHIF, that is the health insurance card, so all of them are being put in one card. And I don't know what you think about this. I don't think it's a good idea myself. I want you to tell me what you think about this. Is what we are going to be talking about today. I want you to tell me what you think about the new government identity cards that are going to be issued to all Kenyans, the machine readable barcode identity card, as opposed to the old ID cards that we have that are not machine readable. What do you think about that? Let us now head to Senegal, where Senegal's president has vowed to abide by the law and not extend his mandate beyond April 2nd. Macky Sall, who is wrapping up 2 terms in office, postponed the presidential election for 10 months, citing unresolved disputes over who could run. But his move was struck down by the Constitutional Court as illegal. He spoke on Thursday on live television, and he said, and I quote, "Having been sworn in on 2nd April 2019, 2nd April 2024 completes the 5-year calendar, so that's the end of the mandate, and I intend to stop at this mandate after April 2nd. I intend to step down as President of the Republic," end of quote. Sall's clarification comes after the ruling coalition voted to extend his rule in early Feb. At the time, some opposition lawmakers left the session as the National Assembly rescheduled the election for December. Opposition groups are now keeping pressure on Sall, who has said that he will hold talks next week. This is what Sall said yesterday on national TV, and I quote, "The country cannot remain without a president of the republic. The forthcoming dialogue will certainly have to decide or propose whether a consensus can be reached on the way forward. I hope that the political players who are to gather around me to look at the nation's best interests. I listen to what the dialogue has to say, and after the dialogue, the Constitutional Council will certainly be able to clarify things." 15 out of the 20 candidates approved to contest in the delayed election and have united in calling for the vote to be conducted no later than April 2nd. In a historical ruling, the Constitutional Court ordered the government to set a new election date as soon as possible, which is yet to do so. Senegal has been seen as one of the most stable West Africa's democracies, one of the most stable democracies. That is according to ECOWAS, but disputes over the election have plunged the country into violence, with 3 people have been killed by security forces and dozens of others injured. So the people have been killed and others injured after Macky Sall, the president of Senegal, decided to postpone the election that was supposed to be on Feb 25th. The election was supposed to be this Sunday, but Sall decided to postpone the elections to December. And the parliament voted and backed him up, but the people were against this, and they went and rioted, and the government cut down the internet, and 3 people have been killed and so many others injured. But apparently, Sall looks like he's backing down, and he has said that he's going to step down at the end of his tenure, which will end on April 25th. So that is what has been happening in Senegal. At least some positive news from Senegal today, with Macky Sall saying that he's going to step down and he's not going to extend his mandate. I had asked what you think about the Maisha card, the new government card that is being issued. What do you think about the new Maisha card? And Jiba Jaba tells me mission creep next level will be a UPC barcode, and he said it will be tattooed on your skin. That is mission creep. I'll check on that. And he says when the net goes down, you won't exist. You won't exist. So he's saying when the net goes down, you won't exist anymore, because it is everything will be electronic now, with the barcode and the the machine readable ID. And he's saying it's mission creep. Next level will be a UPC barcode. So tell me what you think about this. What do you think about the new Maisha card as we head to DRC Congo, where the US has once again accused Rwanda of supporting the M23 rebel groups. The United States of America has accused Rwanda of backing the M23 rebel group in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, prompting a backlash from Kigali. In a statement on Saturday, the US State's Department condemned the worsening violence and called on M23 to cease hostilities immediately and withdraw its current positions around Sake and Goma. It called on Rwanda to immediately withdraw all of its military personnel from the DRC and remove its surface-to-air missiles. The comments, of course, provoked a backlash from Kigali, with the Foreign Affairs Ministry saying that the US statement distorts the reality and that Rwanda deserves the right to self-defense against DRC's action in the area, which it claims threatened Rwandan security. Kigali also expressed deep concern over what it terms the abandonment of the regional peace process and said that the international community is indifferent to DRC's dramatic military buildup. The UN Human Rights Office said in a new report on Friday that dozens of people, including kids, have been victims of rape and other forms of sexual violence in DRC. So this is the US once again calling out Rwanda for supporting the M23 rebels, the March 23 rebel group in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So the March 23 rebel group is one of the more than 100 rebel groups in DRC Congo that are fighting right now. That is why each and every day I've been reporting on deaths in Congo, deaths in refugee camps, deaths in mines. So there are more than 100 rebel groups in Congo, to a point that I was talking about this on Saturday. There are so many rebel groups in Congo that they have run out of names. They are now calling themselves anti. So there is the M23 rebel group and the anti-M23 rebel group. There are even rebel groups that have no agenda. The only agenda is fighting the other. So there's more than 100 rebel groups in Congo, but the biggest one is the March 23, which is allegedly financed by Kigali, financed by Rwanda. And the United States once again called out. It hasn't been doing this publicly, so I don't know why it has decided to publicly call out Rwanda, which in the past it hasn't been doing. So it's calling out Rwanda for supporting the March 23, and this is after France did the same this week. France also called out Rwanda for supporting the M23. I know it is funny. The statements in themselves are funny, coming from the United States and France calling out Rwanda for supporting the March 23. But that is what happened that is what has been happening today in DRC, at least there are not deaths reported today. Not meaning that people have not been killed, at least there are not deaths reported. Every day I report on hundreds and tens of deaths in DRC. Today I have not seen any reports of deaths. Maybe they have not been reported. That is what has been happening in DRC, and let us now head to Sudan. Let us head to Sudan, where I was looking at a report by the United Nations Human Rights Office, and it said dozens of people, including children, have been victims of rape and other forms of sexual violence in the ongoing conflict in Sudan. Attacks which the conflict that has been going on in Sudan, which could be assimilated to war crimes. So Sudan has been in chaos since mid-April, when clashes broke out in the capital Khartoum between rival Sudanese forces, the country's army led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and a paramilitary faction known as the Rapid Support Forces under the command of General Mohammed Hamad Daglo. The fighting quickly spread across the country, particularly to urban areas, but also to the restive West Darfur region. To date, they have killed at least 12,000 people and caused more than 8 million people to flee their homes, according to the report that I was looking at. The report, which covers a period from the start of the fighting to December 15th, documents abuse in the country that has been largely inaccessible to aid. And recently, reports said at least 118 people were victims of sexual violence, including rape, and that most of the attacks were carried out by members of the paramilitary forces in homes and on the streets. So that is what has been happening in Sudan. There has been a war going on in Sudan between three forces. Don't ask me who is sponsoring the chaos. Of course, you all know who is sponsoring the chaos. I also covered this on a week ago on the Diary of a Young Black King, on who has been sponsoring the chaos in Africa and why only mineral-rich countries in Africa are having chaos. Look at Sudan, a country that is very, very rich in fuel deposits, very, very rich. It was stable for a while, but right now, about 12,000 people have died since the violence started, and it has been escalating, and it is getting worse each and every single day in Sudan. And that is what has been happening in Sudan. And I hope we all we can do is hope that a resolution is going to be gotten soon, which I doubt. With more than 2 million people having been displaced by the by the violence. And we'll end the report with Guinea, where Russia seems to have angered Guinea's military junta after Guinea dissolved its government. So this is why Guinea's military junta is very angry at Russia. Guinea's military junta has protested to Russia's ambassador after his embassy reportedly warned of possible unrest in the capital, Conakry. The warning was issued after junta leader Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya dissolved the government on Monday and ordered the closure of all borders. Ambassador Alexei Popov apologized to the junta for what he called a misunderstanding, as reported by Guinean media. Colonel Doumbouya took power in a 2021 coup, and he dissolved the government on Monday without offering any explanation. He also ordered the seizure of the passport of sacked ministers and the freezing of their bank accounts. Ghanaian media reported that Colonel Doumbouya's decision led to the Russian embassy in Guinea advising Russian nationals to be vigilant, as there could be unrest in the West African state's capital, Conakry. The junta reacted angrily, with an official in its foreign ministry summoning Mr. Popov to a meeting. Mr. Popov said, as quoted in Guinea's state-owned television, "I explained that it was a misunderstanding, a false translation of what was published. The announcement was published only in Russian for Russian citizens." The junta accepted the apology, while Mr. Popov said the incident would not affect relations between the two nations. Guinea is one of the several former French colonies in West Africa that have experienced coups in recent years. The junta, which seized power in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, have also pivoted towards Russia while being hostile towards France and the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS. However, Colonel Doumbouya has tried to maintain good relations with all sides. He has also promised to hold elections to restore the democratic rule by the end of 2024. The junta banned all demonstrations in 2022 and has detained several opposition leaders and members of the civil society groups. Colonel Doumbouya overthrew the then president Alpha Conde in September 2021, saying the army had little choice but to seize power because of rampant corruption, disregard for human rights, and economic mismanagement. Mr. Conde was Guinea's first democratically elected president, taking office in 2010 following the end of military rule. He was re-elected in 2015 but faced protests 4 years later when he changed the constitution to run for a third term. So that is what has been happening in Guinea. The Guinea's military junta was angry at Russia because Russia had warned its citizens that there is going to be unrest. That was after the military junta in Guinea disbanded the government and imposed travel bans and froze the bank accounts of all the ministers. So Colonel Doumbouya disbanded the government without any explanation, and Russia issued a security alert saying that there was going to be unrest. And this angered Colonel Doumbouya, who summoned the Russian ambassador, who apologized for the statement. So that is all that has been happening throughout Africa. That was in Guinea, in Kenya, in Sudan, and in DRC. Those were the countries that made headlines today. And Jiba Jaba is saying, also with paper, there is always a hard backup copy in a file cabinet. Cloud-based storage can be hacked and disappear. Hence, you disappear as a person. And he says, mission creep, the boiling frog. The end result is known, but it is implemented in small degrees, so the frog won't realize until it's too late. Wow. So they're doing it in small scales so that people won't realize what is really happening, but everybody knows what is going to happen in the end, but they're going to realize when it's too late. And he says cloud-based storage can be hacked and disappear, so you can't be deleted and you no longer exist. And it's crazy when you think about it like that. And it's also crazy considering Kenya was hacked a few months ago. The e-Citizen, that is the portal that has all our data, was hacked a few months ago, and now they want to take all the national identity cards and put them in a barcode, in encrypted form. But how safe? The question is, how safe are these cards? How safe is our data? How safe is everything that is going to be stored in the new Maisha card? And you'll get the answer very fast, because they are not safe. You can be assured that they're not going to be so safe. So I feel safer with my old ID card. Although the data is still there, but I feel safer knowing that I can't be deleted, like Jiba Jaba is saying. But with a new one, I have doubts. And with the courts having lifted the ban, so it's just a matter of time before I come to the show with a new digital card, because they are going to issue it to each and every Kenyan. But anyways, that is what has been happening throughout Africa. At least today, there were not so many sad news. There were no deaths, that much deaths today. Like last week, we had deaths in Ethiopia, we had deaths in Cameroon, we had deaths in Tunisia with immigrants trying to cross the sea and their boat overturned. We had deaths in Sudan, we had deaths in Congo, where two boats collided, and of course many other deaths in bombings around refugee camps. So I'm happy this week there hasn't been that many deaths reported, but there has been deaths that we have reported, including the 10 people who were killed in Kenya by bandit attacks, and many other in Congo. There was also deaths at the beginning of the week, but at least we have ended the week with no deaths. So I'll see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. on the Diary of a Young Black King. We're going to be having a very interesting discussion, which I'll tell you tomorrow. So I hope you have a good weekend, Jiba Jaba, and of course everyone else who was on the comments on YouTube and on the network. So I hope you have yourself an amazing weekend, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night if you are in Kenya, and the rest of your day if you are watching from abroad. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure.